pleased to welcome as our first inspirational speaker, Ellen White. And Ellen has been helping OCD Action as part of our youth advisory panel, and she recently won a very prestigious award from Mind for her awareness raising work. So welcome to Ellen.
So hi, I'm Ellen, I'm 16, and I've been very privileged to have been asked to speak here today at the OCD Action Conference. So this is my first time ever speaking in public like this, so I'm a bit nervous. But anyway, how often do you hear the phrase, "oh, just stop worrying, stop overreacting"? Some of you may be able to relate to this, because when you have OCD, just being able to stop worrying isn't as easy as some people may think. For as long as I can remember, I've always been anxious or worried about certain situations, always having that uneasy feeling in the back of my mind, no matter how irrational the thought may be. One poignant thing that always stood out to me was when I was in year 6. We went on a school visit to learn about drugs, alcohol, fire, and that kind of thing. And we were shown this board that had all the different drugs and how they sort of correlated to sweets, and I was like, oh, that's a bit strange. And I remember once I'd gotten home, I was petrified that I had somehow stolen those drugs and that I had become a drug dealer. I was just convinced that at the age of 10, I was a drug dealer. I thought the police were going to come after me. I was checking my pockets all the time. I thought that I was going to be sent to prison. I was also convinced, because of that, I was spiking people's drinks. So I would never go next to anyone's glass or make anyone a drink, even food, because I thought people were going to die because I was somehow spiking the drinks. I mean, I know obviously in the back of my mind I knew I would never ever spike anyone's drink or take drugs or anything like that, but the thoughts were so strong at that time, the rational thoughts were just eradicated. But I think that was the first time OCD was extremely prevalent in my life. It wasn't just little worries here and there, it was full-blown fear. Throughout secondary school, more and more of these situations cropped up, along with physical compulsions. And then around the time of about April 2012, my mum kind of came to me and was like, look, something's not right here. Do you want to go speak to someone? And at the time, I was stuck in an extremely complicated ritual and I was in hysterics, and I refused. I was like, no, I'm not going to go speak to anyone, because clearly they're going to think I'm crazy. I can't get into bed. I'm stuck here, counting over and over again, how can anyone help me? But as time went on, after that event, I kind of calmed down and thought, okay, I need help. So I went to my GP, and luckily my GP was extremely understanding, and she referred me on to CAMS, which is Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. Now, my experience with CAMS has been really quite positive. I'm currently working with a psychologist who has honestly changed my life. I don't know where I'd be without her. But at the start of treatment in January 2013, I was with a different psychologist at that time, but I was extremely closed up. The 10 months I worked with her were really positive. We kind of established, I learned a lot more about my OCD, because at the time, I was even myself, I was unaware that what I was struggling with was OCD. So we kind of established, this is what I was struggling with, and we identified the specific areas of, my compulsions and fears. And the only thing was, back in the summer of that year, she abruptly announced that she was leaving. And I remember just a few weeks prior saying to my friend, I thought, everything was going to be okay if I could continue working with her. But that wouldn't be the case. The first part and during the process of transferring psychologists was extremely difficult. I remember being just absolutely distraught that this person, the first person that understood me, was going to leave, and I didn't know where she was going. That was it. So I was really upset. But that event was the event that triggered me starting my blog, because I'd spent a lot of time on the internet Googling, trying to find different people's experiences with transferring psychologists, and I couldn't find anything, especially from like a youth perspective. So I figured that maybe if I put something out there, so that anyone in a similar situation in the future could kind of have that resource to help them through a process that I found extremely difficult, and I'm sure if anyone else went through it, it would be equally as difficult, because of course your psychologist is the person that you confide in, and if they're just going to leave and you have to move on to another one, like, you know, are they going to understand you as well, or are they going to just send you away? You know, it's all up in the air and you don't really know what's happening. So that was the trigger of me creating my blog, Ellen's OCD blog, which I'll talk about in a minute. Also around that time, I got in contact with OCD Action and their youth charity, OCD Youth. So I joined the YAP for OCD Youth, and it's been so awesome. It's been one of the first places where I've truly felt I've belonged. I've always felt included with everything they've done, even me being the youngest member, being only in year 10 at the time of joining. The support, passion and motivation of every single person in the YAP is amazing, and it's truly remarkable, and I feel so privileged to be able to work with such awesome people. I'm currently in the role of the social media officer, and I've been able to attend workshops and have discussions around the contents of my role. I really do hope to continue working with them for as long as possible, and today I've just been so excited about coming for months. Writing in mental health has been a big passion of mine, even before having figured out that I was suffering from a mental illness myself. I've loved how I've been able to express my opinions and what I've been struggling with through writing my blog. You see the statistics on OCD and mental illness, but you never quite take it in until you physically see like what it's showing. And through my blog, I've been amazed at how many people I've been able to connect with who have suffered with OCD. I always thought, you know, I was kind of alone in this, but that really, of course, isn't the case. Someone who I call one of my closest friends now, our friendship was instigated by our experiences with OCD. She lives in Florida, it's a pen pal, and, you know, I've never had a friend quite like her, and it's amazing how such a debilitating illness such as OCD can bring people together from all over the world. My aim right from the get-go with my blog was just to simply help people and offer advice from my experience living with OCD and, you know, therapy and stuff like that. But I've never expected it to go as far as it has. In the short space of a year and a half, I've had experiences that I never thought possible back when I was 14, writing my first post. The Mind Media Awards being one of those like life-changing experiences. Back in September, one Sunday morning, I awoke to find that I'd been shortlisted for the Mind Media Awards, and I had no idea that my name had even been put forward. I was like, whoa. The date was set for the 17th of November 2014. And of course, me being the technology-dependent teenager that I am, set a countdown immediately on my phone and was checking it every single day. I was convinced I wasn't going to win because the other nominees were a lot older than me and had more experience, so I was just like privileged to be there. They went through all the winners, and they were all truly deserving. And then they got to the blogger category, and then they announced it, and I had won, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, it was amazing. On the way up, I didn't trip and fall up the stairs, which in heels was a good thing. And then ended up crying on stage, wasn't exactly what I'd hoped, but it was one of the best experiences of my life, and it has to be definitely up there. The Mind Media Awards has opened up so many doors for me, radio, newspaper interviews, but most importantly, it's enabled me to reach out to more people and hopefully help them in their battle with OCD. Admittedly, sometimes I do feel a bit more pressure when writing posts because there's more of an audience to kind of present to, but I don't think that can really be helped. When I look back over the past 5 years or so, it really strikes me as to how much OCD had control of me, even though I didn't know it at the time. The amount I have learned and grown through my experiences, I think is phenomenal, and I can now genuinely say that my OCD no longer defines me. Like, I am Ellen, I am not OCD, and that is something that I hope to pass on to you today. OCD can be a cruel and manipulative illness that can try and take away your identity, but in the darkest of times, deep down, there's always a genuine person behind your OCD. Thank you.